All right, the next level of trading is an intuitive trader. I've only hit this a few times. And I don't believe it can technically be fully relied upon. But we should, and I do, put my effort and energy into cultivating the potential for intuitive trading, setting up those things that might lead me into what he will speak to as flow, and I will break that down further. But everything I've been doing for the past 5 years has been studying flow triggers and how to create the conditions that best put us into flow. So Mark Douglas is going to talk about how intuitive trading relates to pattern creation. And that's what Tony Robbins considers the third creative skill. So let's listen in on Mark D first and foremost.
And the last stage is the intuitive. This is the most advanced mode of trading. It would be the equivalent to getting a black belt in martial arts. It's when you find yourself in the zone, tapped into the collective consciousness of the market, giving you a sense of the flow.
Stop right there real quick, because he used two words that many people would consider woo-woo, but I am going to break down. He used collective consciousness, he used flow, and maybe flow is not out of reach because there's the likes of Stephen Coulter and Jamie Wheel and the Flow Genome Project and plenty of books and media regarding flow state from all the way back from Csikszentmihalyi. But this is something I want to speak to, the collective consciousness. I've had an experience when I was traveling where I was so tuned into the markets, I knew exactly what was going to happen next. And I did not even worry when I put on size on almost all of my trades. And I was relatively in and out quicker than I'm used to, within like a day or two. But I was making money because I had higher position sizes. And I was catching every down move and then every up move. So every correction and then continuation. It was ridiculous. And I made more money in that month than any of my other months on vacation from my phone. Now, a lot of people wouldn't recommend that for various reasons, but to me, again, when I understood I was in flow, tapped into the kung fu fighter of an intuitive trader within myself, I had to go. I had to put the gas to the pedal to the gas. You get the pick. I will speak to the default mode network in the brain that prevents us from finding that intuitive trader and that flow state.
If you look at the market as being, a collection of individuals, you can tap into that. You can find yourself. It's not something you can will yourself into. You just find yourself in this zone where you're just seeing and doing things that you can't necessarily explain at a rational level. And the problem is that there are people. Everyone has intuitive capabilities. But some people it's completely shut off, and with others, they don't trust it because, they can't make the distinction between what's intuition and what's just their mind hoping that something's going to happen, or hoping that what they see is really what's going on, and making it feel like intuition. The problem is, until you've acquired these fundamental skills that we're talking about, you definitely don't want to be trading based on intuitive impulses. You just want to make note of them. When you've got the skills, then find yourself in the zone, then go ahead and do whatever.
I mean, he's speaking to it right there. He's saying that the basis of what I'm transferring to you and through my content is that mechanical trading needs to be the basis. Then you get an opportunity to become more of a subjective trader, to check in with your playback, to know your setups, but not necessarily be so mechanical in taking every single trade that presents itself to you based on your signals. So you see the setups in the market, you're like, oh, there's another one of my setups, there's another one of my setups, there's another one of my setups. But you don't necessarily take every one, or as a subjective trader, you take a little bit less position on some and heavier position on others. So now moving into that intuitive state, that collective consciousness, here is Tony Robbins to speak to pattern creation.
And then if you're good after a while, you get to pattern creation. It's like if you learn to play the piano, most people play other people's music. And then there's a point you've learned so much that you're able to create. And I think those three skills are the most important skills. So I look at the...
You can't explain it at a rational level. Like Mark Douglas says, you can't explain it at a rational level. So here I'm going to try for a sec.
5 minutes later.
If the market is just compiled of a group of participants, a group of individuals that have their own consciousness, their own thinking patterns, their own beliefs, but they essentially are looking for the same moves using similar indicators or indicators that do the same thing, their momentum oscillators or their trend-based indicators. We get to a point in the market where, everyone might be seeing the same thing. Now, some traders can act on that correctly and others can't. Now, when I'm speaking about collective consciousness, if all of these groups of participants with their own individual consciousness are thinking and seeing the same thing, and you begin to see it too, and you begin to execute just as they are, you are now putting your capital into the flow, the current of currency, right? That energy is now flowing in the same direction. You're not fighting the current. You're not trying to swim upstream. You're flowing with it. And that's when trading becomes effortless. And that is the notion of flow. Flow is selfless, timeless, effortless, and has this real-time data acquisition. So you're beginning to pull in information that you normally wouldn't have access to. And again, this is in the book Stealing Fire that I've read thoroughly and taught out of, as well as Becoming Superman. So anyways, Mark Douglas is going to talk about this to a T.
When you start thinking at a rational level, you flip yourself right out of the zone. Because your rational mind wants reasons. Your rational mind wants logical reasons, and these intuitive impulses don't come from that part of your brain. They come from that creative part of your brain. And by definition, creativity is bringing something forth that didn't previously exist. It may exist somewhere in the world or in the universe somewhere, but it didn't exist in your mind, and it's outside the parameters of what you already believe. So there's going to be an instant conflict between what you think at a rational level and your intuitive impulses until you train your rational mind to accept your intuitive impulses.
Training your rational mind to accept your intuitive impulses. I know nothing better than mindfulness practices, and specifically the elite practice of meditation, silent seated meditation. Thanks for checking in, my friends. We're going to part this up into like multiple videos because it went way too long.